Hi everyone. So in this video I wanted to talk to you about the difference between meditation and breath work. Now, these things are talked about quite a lot at the minute. We've got, it's a bit of a buzzword, things like mindfulness. So for you guys, I just wanted to sort of clear up that there are some differences between the two. They're both very effective tools and something I like to try and use every single day to help me just with my general sort of stress levels, obviously my health, mental health, and longevity as well. So it's something I'm definitely very focused on. And I've been doing for a long time. I've been doing meditation, Tai Chi and Chinese Qigong, which is a type of breath therapy, a breath work, for about 20 years now. So it's something that I've been working on myself. And I think as a beginner, it can be a very confusing subject. And because of that, because it can be quite confusing, and because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, I think a lot of people can quit very early at it because they feel like, oh, it's not for me or I can't do it. So for example, when it comes to meditation, a lot of people that I speak to and I say, oh, have you tried something like meditation? Or if it comes up in conversation or if I suggest it, they'll say, oh, I've tried that before, but I couldn't clear my mind. I was no good at it. And no matter what I did, I could never clear my mind. So I just know I'm not very good at it. It's something I'm not going to be able to do. So I stopped doing it. And unfortunately, that's very common. And I don't know whether that's because the language that a lot of meditation, yoga, Tai Chi instructors, people that kind of do this type of instruction use may be incorrect. And I think sometimes the term of you need to clear your mind comes up a lot when people talk about that. I'm not able to clear my mind, which means I'm no good at meditation. And no matter how hard I try, I couldn't clear my mind. And I think that's something I wanted to talk about today when it comes to meditation before we talk about the differences. And that is that if you're trying to clear your mind and create nothing in your mind, that's basically an impossible task. Okay, maybe if you are some enlightened being, that might be a possibility. But for us mortal humans, being able to clear our mind is not something that we should even be looking to achieve. Because as soon as we think of nothing, something is going to pop into that space. That is what our mind does. Our mind is working and it needs something to think about to operate. So a better question or a better language to use then is, can we focus our mind? Can we bring focus into our mind? So again, when we think about starting a new person, and again, an experienced person will say the same thing, it might just happen less. But if we're a new person, it's our first meditation class. We come into a class and we're asked to say, start to focus on our breath, which is a great way of starting to bring focus into meditation. Okay, so maybe just be aware of your in breath, making it nice and slow, and being aware of your out breath, nice and slow through the nose, let's say, in and out through the nose. Now that is a focus, okay? Now again, as a beginner, we'll probably be able to do that a little bit, and then what's going to happen is a thought is going to come into our mind, and then we'll get distracted and our mind will drift off on this pattern that our mind starts to create, going from one thing to another. And eventually we'll go, oh, I've forgotten to think about my breath. That might be that we get reminded in a class, or it might just be that all of a sudden you realize you'd gone off on a tangent. And that's absolutely fine. That's again, exactly what the mind is naturally doing. And again, in one of our podcasts, one of my mindset podcasts, I talk about this backseat driver. Some people would call it like the monkey brain, okay? And this is the part of our brain that likes to keep our mind busy, likes to keep us thinking about threats and so on and so forth. And if we've got high stress and anxiety, that's something that's going to happen even more. So it's natural for our mind to start to try and busy itself with thoughts, okay? Being like proactive or active. But just like anything, just like learning a sport or any kind of skill, focus is a skill, okay? So if you can focus for 30 seconds in your first class before you lose attention, and you can focus on, let's say, 10 in and out breaths, and then you lose attention again, that's fine. Because the next time you do it, or the next time you do it, and each week and each month that we build on top of this, keeping to practice this focus, you'll get better at it. And therefore your meditation will get better as well with this focus. And another thing just to think about as well is, as a beginner, of course, it's fantastic to be able to meditate and be able to focus in a quiet room. You know, I've got this studio here that's lovely, and I can put music on, I can dim the lights, and I can have coloured lights, and I can set this place up for like the perfect ambient environment with the right temperature and so forth to be able to meditate and really have a lovely relaxing session. But again, is that practical for modern life? Okay, so again, we could lock ourselves away in a cave, you know, like some of the old sages are supposed to have done, is gone to a cave to find enlightenment and so on and so forth. Fantastic, we could do that. But most of us have responsibilities. We have kids, we have jobs, we have mortgages, we have bills and so on and so forth. We can't just vanish into the perfect environment. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because what, again, meditation can bring with this focus is the fact that we can stop being distracted as much by the outside world. And again, it always makes me kind of laugh and slightly sad sometimes as well when I'm working within fitness clubs that I'm around, or I speak to other yoga teachers, meditation instructors, and they seem so angry, for example, when someone's making noise outside the room, or you know, someone's interrupting their meditation. But in my opinion, if we want to get good at meditation, the other thing that we should do, like any skill, is we should stress test that, okay? So if you can sit perfectly in a quiet room for ages, wonderful, okay? But can you meditate when you really need to? Can you meditate in the middle of a stressful environment, for example? Can you meditate if your kids are just outside the room and you can hear the TV or talking in the background? Can you focus your mind away from that and still find some benefits, still take yourself to a place that is calm and collected? Can you do that? For example, one of the things I use for myself, I go into a sauna. You see people go into a sauna, I like to do 20 minutes in a sauna. People get, within a few minutes, start to get stressed, their brain starts to talk and they want to get out. But can you sit and under that stress, maintain that calm, relaxed kind of environment? And that will help you in loads of things. And you might have something stressful in an office where you can just take yourself away 5 minutes, switch everything off and bring yourself back into that focus, ground yourself back to you again. And that's, I think, in my opinion, one of the best things, you know, about meditation is not necessarily this concept of enlightenment that you might find a lot of people that are very deeply into that might you know, be looking for, especially if it's very spiritual for them or even religious for them as part of a religious practice. But can we connect with ourselves whenever we need to? Can we do it in a stressful environment? Start obviously in a non-stressful environment and build that practice. So without going on too much about meditation, I want you to really think about how you can start. Understand that it's a skill, and therefore not putting unrealistic expectations on yourself, thinking about clearing the mind. It's about bringing focus into your mind, into your body, into your life, so you can use that time to build that focus. And again, when you think about doing a meditation session, let's say tomorrow morning you decide you're going to do 5 minutes of meditation, you're going to sit down, you're going to put some calming music on, and you're going to meditate. Again, it can be in any position you want. You can sit in a chair, you can lie on your back, you can do it in bed, you can sit on a cushion, whatever's comfortable for you. Again, these positions are all distractions, especially when you begin. You need to be comfortable to start with, to the point where you can just relax and be able to obviously breathe and expand the stomach and expand the chest to get air into the lungs. So when you go about setting your next meditation session, I encourage you to do that. Make it just 5 to 10 minutes, make it achievable. And also I want you to think about a focus. And some great starting points for focus are, can I just focus on my in breath and out breath? Or can I just try and observe myself internally? Can I just watch my thoughts? Can I see what just comes and goes? That sometimes is very useful, and you can make notes in your journal afterwards about things will pop up, answers to questions you might have asked yourself the day before, or things you've forgotten about that you need to do in the day. There's nothing wrong for that either. Can you just observe yourself? There's loads of different ways. So always come to meditation with something that you would like to get from it, okay? And even if that is, I'd like to do nothing, I'd like to just sit quietly, that's also obviously some level of focus that you can do. So that's with meditation. So then what about breath work? Breath work is something else. There's definitely breath work included in meditation for sure, but at the same time, you can definitely separate it as well. You can think about it as two different tools that like kind of cross over, but also can be used differently. Breath work is more about obviously just focusing on our breathing, the thing that happens subconsciously throughout the whole day. And because it's a subconscious practice most of the time, a lot of us are then just led by our nervous system, and then depending on what state our nervous system is in will dictate how we breathe. So for example, if I'm very calm, okay, if you watch someone sleeping or just who's very relaxed, the breaths will be long and slow in breaths, okay? But if you're more anxious, for example, if your kind of fight or flight mode is engaged, you'll see people starting to breathe more shallowly. You'll see people start to breathe more through the mouth as well, especially if it's shallow. So their mouth will be open and they'll be breathing through the mouth instead of through the nose, which is more natural in a calm state. So what happens is life and the stresses around us will start to dictate how we breathe without us really understanding that or knowing about it, a subconscious or an unconscious process. But our breath is so important. I mean, even if we think about it anatomically, our breath is controlled by a lot of different muscles in our body. The main muscle for breathing is the diaphragm that just sits at the top of where these sort of the ribs turn into this V shape here, okay? And it will push down to bring more air into the lungs, and then it will go back up to expel the air back out of the lungs. That's a really important muscle. And again, if that muscle is strong and if we're using it properly, it also starts to push down into our organs and push and move our organs around, just pushing them apart, and can help a lot of times in ancient sort of Chinese or Ayurvedic medicine. They'll talk about it massaging the internal organs. That's one muscle. It's a muscle that we can improve and get better at using and have more control over, okay? And also our intercostal muscles, the muscles between our ribs, the things that obviously don't expand too much, but again, if we have a lot of tension there and we don't use these muscles properly, it can fix us into this more closed position, which means we never really open up and use our lungs as well as we could do. And also, obviously, within our lungs, we have things within our lungs, right? Our bronchioles, our alveoli, which are like the tiny ends, like the leaves almost on branches. If you think about, as we go down, we have this big trunk that goes into our lungs and separates like the branches, and then it goes into these little leaves almost, which are the things that absorb and pass the oxygen between the lungs and the bloodstream, alveoli. And they sit right in the bottom of our lungs. And if we never really fully expand and get into the bottom of those lungs, then they can start to collapse and get congealed and be less effective. So it means that our breathing is less effective, our nutrient uptake is less effective, and also all of this tension and this lack of using these muscles will mean that there's more tension in our body, which again, more tension is usually a cause of more anxiety, a sort of a more alert state, but not necessarily relaxed. So breathwork just on a physical level can be using muscles that we should be using better, and most of us don't get to use those muscles. Just like, for example, if you go and do some cardiovascular work, it's going to use the lungs, it's going to use the heart and make the body more efficient. And breathwork can definitely help with that too, and then will obviously impact things like your cardiovascular fitness long term, because you're getting more effective at using your body through breathwork. On top of that, the different types of breathwork can have different reactions within our body. So for example, a very common one is what's called box breathing, which will be, let's say, a 4-second in breath. We hold our breath for 4 seconds, we breathe out for 4 seconds, and we hold our breath again. So we go through this cycle of breathing in, holding, breathing out, holding, breathing in, and going around this kind of like a box concept. And this is a really good way of just starting to get control of our breath. Some people struggle to even control their breathing, and they almost get a bit panicky when they start to have to think about their breathing. So this is a really great tool to just start to get control of our breath and start to just bring some calm, because it forces us to slow our breathing down, become mindful about our breathing, and that naturally will straight away bring some calm to the body and some control, which is what we're looking for. So that's one thing we can do. Another one we can do is what's called cyclical breathing, and this is used a lot for things like, say, Tai Chi and Qigong, which is a very soft and smooth way of breathing. And again, the timing doesn't really matter in terms of how long you breathe in and out for. It's more about what's comfortable for you. But the concept is that we're always breathing in and we never hold our breath. As soon as we get to the end of that in-breath, we just relax and we breathe out, and it's a steady state all the way back to that point where, again, we've emptied our lungs and then we start to fill up again. So it's this constant smooth circle that you never really can visually see or have any speeding up or slowing down or holding. It's a constant smooth cycle of breathing. And in Chinese traditional medicine, they talk about how the smooth breath like that kind of controlled smooth breathing with no end, no start, no stop, no speeding up, can smooth the energy, smooth the chi in our body, all right? And what does that mean? Well, that probably means that actually what it's going to start to do is really have a very relaxing sort of effect on our body, help to relax the nervous system and energize the body, obviously with the breath coming in and out, and it relieves tension because, again, it's just this smooth rhythmic flow, all right, constantly just flowing in and out. So it's a really nice way to breathe, something I do with my Qigong and a lot of my Tai Chi practice as well. So I'm always thinking about, say with Tai Chi, I'm going to be breathing out as I do the smooth movement. And once I get to the end of the movement, I start to breathe in, and there's no speeding up, there's no slowing down, it's just constantly moving in this nice, smooth way. That's that cyclical breathing. There's another one, another type of breathing, a cyclical breathing, which is called cyclical sighing. And there's been a lot of research on this, and I've definitely learned a lot from Huberman podcasts from this as well. But it's, again, not something that's necessarily new. It's just that there's a lot of new research into it. And a lot of people would say it's one of the most effective ways, based on a lot of the research that's been done, into really sort of easing the nervous system and bringing relaxation, more so than something necessarily like just meditation. And it's called cyclical sighing, okay? And it's used a lot in a few other breathwork techniques as well, a few that are very popular at the minute. And this is the idea that you're going to basically breathe in. You're going to breathe in a big breath, and then you're going to take an extra little breath at the end to get right to the bottom of the lungs, and then you're going to release all the tension with a big sigh. Then we're going to breathe in, small breath, and then a sigh. And this sighing action, again, which will be longer than the in-breath, it'll be probably twice the length. So let's say you're breathing in for 4 seconds, you might sigh and breathe out for 8 seconds. This actual physical sigh, if you think about it, is what we do anyway when we're relaxed. We relax and the body kind of sinks, and we have this sighing process, which is getting rid of the tension from our body. So what we're actually doing is using that response the opposite way. So whereas our brain might tell us, oh, let's sigh because we feel relaxed, this time we're physically asking our body to sigh, and then obviously it still has that neurological effect. And then we're emptying our lungs right back down and going again, breathing in. And then and starting again. And again, even if you do this for a couple of minutes, you will feel the effect. It's really effective. You'll start to really feel calm. And again, if you can do this for, say, 5 minutes, it has massive effects on the nervous system, really starts to change the nervous system, starts to change the hormone response, ideally slowing down the release of cortisol, starting to actually calm the nervous system back down. This is another great way of doing it. And again, you can go off and research a lot of this stuff. There's loads out there these days that is really cool about cyclical science. So have a think about that one. And lastly, there's one other type that I like to practice, and it's very common and has grown in popularity over the last few years, which is the Wim Hof method. Now, this is a method of almost like, well, it is a method of like hyperventilation, all right? So if you are very high with anxiety to start with, you definitely need to be careful about the intensity that you do this with. You might want to do it slightly slower in breaths to start with, but the concept of it is that we're getting as much oxygen into the system as possible by using very big in-breaths, very quickly, and powerful out-breaths. So we're really using the muscles of our body, and then we're trying to hold our breath for as long as possible, which obviously then starts to encourage the body to use what it has in the system more effectively, okay? So again, this is a very similar system to something like free divers would use as well to build their effectiveness, not necessarily their lung capacity, but how effectively they absorb that oxygen and hold it within the body. And that looks like this. So again, you can do it at different speeds. So you could do it nice and steady, say a 4 in and a 4 out. It could be a or it could be faster than that. And again, when Wim Hof talks about it, he says he doesn't really mind, especially at the beginning, whether you use your mouth or your nose. If someone struggles a little bit, where their nose gets blocked, they have sinus issues, you might struggle to really get that in. But I think if you can definitely breathe in through the nose, and I like to breathe out through my mouth, I think you get the best benefits from it. But it's an in-breath and it's an out-breath, and it could also be quite short and sharp. So it could be like a I'm looking to empty the lungs. I'm going to hold my breath at this point for as long as I can. Again, being careful, making sure we're not doing this when we're driving or around water or something like that, because obviously if we hold our breath too long, there is the risk of us passing out. So don't go to that extreme, but till you feel that kind of panic response, that breath response, they call it a gasp reflex, where our body starts to tell us we want to breathe in again. And you can hold on a little bit longer, let a few of those happen. Again, that's kind of desensitizing that process. And then obviously take another breath in and then breathe out. There's actually an app you can use and you can download as well, a Wim Hof app that takes you through that process. These are all great versions of breath work. And again, like I talked about before, they have aspects of meditation, right? Because we're focusing on our breath. It definitely has a meditative quality to it. When I do the Wim Hof one with the breath holds, I do 3 to 5 rounds of that. Afterwards, I feel super relaxed, and actually I just want to sit and really enjoy the feeling of that afterwards, which is usually then 5 minutes of just sitting and enjoying the feeling, how I feel, my body feels relaxed, my muscles, my brain has slowed down, and I can really just sit in the moment, and that becomes quite meditative. Just like the other way where I could use breath to help me with my focus in meditation. So there's similarities, but you can also use them differently. You could just use breath work, your cyclical sighing, your box breathing, your Wim Hof method. You could just do meditation where you focus on how you're feeling, what's happening in your body, and not focus too much on breath. But breath is a great way into meditation, into relaxing the body. So usually breath work is used to start the meditation process before we go kind of deeper into ourselves and start asking maybe deeper questions or thinking about it on a spiritual level. So there you go, meditation, breath work, they are definitely different, but they also interlock. Have a think about them, have a go with them, that's the main thing. Plan something in, try these things out. If you have any questions, as always, stick the questions in the comments, or if you're watching this in our community group, then absolutely just ask us directly. That's what the beauty of the community group is you have direct chat with us. So come to me directly, ask any questions, ask any advice. If you want to go through it or with us, if you're part of our online community, absolutely you can do that and add more videos and more content to you guys as well. If you are watching this, say on YouTube, then feel free to check out our website and join our community group. It's fittothrive.co.uk. It's only £10 a month to join our community, which gives you 10 plus classes, loads of extra content like this, podcasts, blogs, loads of research papers, and obviously a community of like-minded people that can help you stay on this journey, motivate you on this journey, and come together for health and well-being and longevity. So thanks for watching, have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.